everyone, and welcome back. Welcome to a new episode of Mind and Muse Crochet and Fiber podcast. Although I must admit that as of late there is a lot more crochet than anything else. But I wanted to come back before the year ended to have a last podcast in which I could talk to you a little bit about my reflection on what this year has been for me and present some hopes of what the new year will be for all of us. So, welcome. Thanks for joining me. I am Caroline, your host, and as always, I am coming from the western side of the island of Puerto Rico in the Caribbean, where I live with my husband. And I come here every so often to share with you the crafty side of my life. And today there is no exception. I want to share with you what things have happened during the year in my crafty life, what makes or projects I am especially proud of having completed, what projects especially fill me with a high degree of satisfaction knowing that I have completed them, and what I expect or what I would like 2021 to be for me in terms of my craftiness. So let's get started. And as usual, I will start with this section that I have named Walking the Talk, because it is a section where I try and give you a little bit of my crochet style, my 2 cents on how I think we should wear our makes. And that usually involves crochet, but every once in a while it could just involve simple jewelry that I have created. But today specifically, I am sharing with you a top that I am wearing that I did not make myself. It was a top that was gifted to me by my daughter for Christmas. My daughter, Elizabeth of the Crochet Cakes podcast, she very lovingly and very generously shared her talents with me by making for me this top. Now, I do believe, but don't take my word for it, that it is let's say a slight modification of a pattern that she already had out. You all know that my youngest daughter is Elizabeth of the Crochet Cakes podcast, the host of the Crochet Cakes podcast. This Christmas, she gifted me this top, which is a version of her. This is the summer fan top. Her summer fan top. In which she has modified so that, what is only the front here, the design element that's on the front here, and design that she has created for me, the design element is on the front and also on the back. So it is a modification of this. I think she also changed a little bit the sleeves on it by creating this band on the front and on the back and then joining them. And I think she said that it made for a nicer looking join. And so I will put up either photos or video of me wearing this top, because I can't show you from here, but this top is made in 2 colors. There you go. So it's got the fan using the arcade stitch up at the top, and then underneath it has got, the body is a different color. Now, I can't give you all the details about the yarns and the yardage and all of that because she didn't give them to me, but you can find all of those details on her blog, crochetcakes.com, and look up the summer fan top so that you can get all of those details. that was one of her gifts, one of her yarny gifts for me this Christmas. Another yarny gift from her was a pair of socks. So she made these socks for me this Christmas. And you'll notice that they do not have a heel. They're simply a tube, because she wanted me to try out and see if there was a difference in creating the heel in terms of the wear and tear that the socks get. But honestly, I can't really provide those details because I really don't wear my crochet socks all that much, especially as of late. It gets pretty hot here, and I can't have wool socks on for too long. But aren't they gorgeous? I believe this was a pattern from Sandra of Cherry Heart Podcast. And the yarn I know is a Christmas colorway, but I don't exactly know who was the dyer. But there they are. I have tried them on and I have tried wearing them, and it really doesn't present an issue that it doesn't have the heel. They're just a tube sock and they slip on fine, and they're very nice thin socks. They're not really thick, but I just love handmade socks. They just look so pretty. And because she gifted me this, I kind of decided that this upcoming year, I was going to have a slight focus on socks. But I'll talk to you more about that in a moment. And before we continued, I wanted to share a little bit let's just say, a summary of what 2019 was like for us here at Mind and Muse podcast. And I didn't have to sit down and sort of like take a look at all the videos that I put up. And surprisingly, they weren't a lot. When you're doing this, sometimes you feel that you do a lot more than what you actually do. I recorded 15 podcasts this year, which is about a little bit less than once a month, but I guess it got down to once a month at some point. And that's not counting the Vlogmases, right? That were the countdown till Christmas were a separate set of 10 or 9 short videos. So I'm not counting those. But in terms of the Mind and Muse Crochet and Fiber podcast content, there were 15 videos. And well, I'm saying that, but really 2 of those were a joint video shared with Clarissa Beth, because we were working together and we were collaborating to create the Oddments Cardical. So I looked through those 15 videos and I tried to count the different projects that I presented to you and tried to take a look at which of those projects I was particularly fond of and which of them I just completed them because they had been started but really didn't see much future in them. So this says here that during 2020, I made 10 garments, and under those garments I included 1 shawl and a couple of hats. So let's say garments and or accessories. There were 12 of those projects. There were 10 house decor projects completed. 1 or 2 toys, 1 or 2 toys, and that's without counting the ornaments for the Harry Potter tree. And I have 5 projects that were not completed, that I presented here on the podcast and I began talking about, and I did not complete, but that haven't been from. It wasn't as much as last year, but you can still see that I've got a large focus on home decor items, which are items that I just want to see around my house. And so that basically you're going to be able to see fiber in all of the rooms of my house. Not yet. It's not at that stage yet, but yeah, it would be. There are a couple of patterns that I counted them as finished objects for me without counting the actual pattern write-up as a separate category, but I did write up a couple of patterns this year and I gifted them to you. So let's see which projects I am especially proud of. And then I'll have a little parade here while I am talking so that you can see, just in case you don't remember any of them, and you can rejoice with me once again. I was especially glad to finish the Edinburgh shawl because it had taken me 2 years to work that shawl up with a special yarn that I had purchased from Wool and Vine Yarns called Edinburgh. So I really wanted to complete that project, and I did get it done early during the year. And I also was especially happy to finally get my crochet hook into some color work crochet. And you all know that I'm talking about my Taroko sweater that I created using the Kobasi yarn, which is a cotton, bamboo, and silk yarn blend. And I was very happy with that make because it not only looked well, but it also fit well. And I do have to say that I haven't had the opportunity to use it because it hasn't been cool enough on the island. It just has one section of wool around the middle, but that section is enough to make the top pretty warm. In addition to that one, which is of special pride for me, I also completed towards the end, as part of my countdown towards Christmas project, I finished my cardigan, my J.W. Anderson inspired cardigan, which was not only inspired by J.W. Anderson and the cardigan that he created for Harry Styles, but it was also inspired by Rosina of the Zines and Rogers podcast because she recreated her own version of that cardigan using continuous squares. It did take me a couple of months to make because, well, I wasn't working on it monogamously. I was doing other things at the same time, and I was specifically ending a very tense and complicated school year. So I was just working on it bits and pieces in the evenings, a couple of rows every night, but it got completed, and I'm very happy to say so. The fit is very nice. It is a much smaller fit than Rosina's because I used a smaller hook. So those were some makes that I was particularly proud of. And under the category of accessories and garments, another pattern that I completed that I was particularly happy with, you'll remember the pom-pom rug from the very beginning of this new year. That made me particularly happy. And also, I finally completed the planned pooling cushion that I had been working on also for a couple of years. I finally completed it, and I was very happy with the result of that. My Koki wall hanging was a big event for me because along with Clarissabeth and some other people, we celebrated the Latin Heritage Month. I also created a cushion with the word fall on it in Spanish, so otoño, which Clarissabeth converted into a cushion, and I was very happy with that make. And I really believe that I've got some great projects still on the go that I didn't get to complete, but that I am going to carry them on to the next year. So You will remember my lace weight socks. I finished one and the other one I never completed it. Basically, I didn't complete it because I had to frog back once I reached the end because it was really a bad fit. So I needed a longer foot and a larger gusset is really what I needed there. And when I went to frog it back, the yarn broke, and so I just got frustrated with it and I left it. I've got the Warlock blanket, if you'll remember, which was a granny square rectangle, but using the spiked granny square stitch. And I was also using the Warlock colorway from Mandala Yarns. So it is that rectangular shape of a granny square, but with the colors that create a gradient of colors over and over again, because I think up to now I had 3 skeins put into the blanket and I was missing one last skein. I had stopped because we reached the summer and I really didn't feel the colors that I was working with. But when autumn came back around, I never got back into it. But it is on my radar for the beginning of the year, along with the second wall art that I designed but could never finish because I ran out of yarn, which was my wall art of the garita, the lookout house from one of our castles in San Juan. And I did, after, receive the yarn. I purchased it and received it. Just haven't gotten around to continuing that project. But it is on my list of things to begin the year with. I am still working on the Diamonds Are Forever scarf, which was from an issue of Crochet Now. And I don't know, I just wanted to finish this so badly that I stopped working on everything else. I think that's what happened towards the end of the year, because there was one block left on that scarf, and it really is not a difficult scarf to complete. So I'll probably pick it up now after I complete this podcast and kind of like get back to it. And so those are a couple of the projects that I really want to get back into. You'll remember that I worked slightly with the slouchy hat in Tunisian crochet, and that, well, I also frogged back because it was just too big. It was just too big. So I wanted to try and do it again because I really wanted to get into Tunisian crochet. So that's on my radar again for the next year. From the things that I did make this year, I gifted during Christmas. I finally got to gift my finger hooked scarf. I also gifted the November Sky Beanie by Hannah of the Cozy Cottage Crochet. That was another Christmas gift. I gifted my P-Bridge patchwork hat. That was another hat that I gifted. And of course the Maya tunic that was always meant to be a gift for my older daughter. They all went out and they were all received by the intended recipients. So, all in all, it wasn't the worst year of all. In addition to picking up on those projects that are languishing from this year, I also decided that I was going to try and reduce my sock yarn. At the end of December, the day before or the day after Christmas, I can't remember, I saw an announcement for a bundle of crochet patterns, of which one of them was a sock pattern by Crochet Cakes, and Clarissa Beth submitted a tea leaves sock pattern for the bundle. Oh. And so I decided that I was going to begin stash busting my sock yarn by making these socks. And so this is what I have worked up to now. It's a beautiful colorway. The contrast is a sparkly yarn that I purchased as a set of yarns, but I know I purchased them from Little Bean Loves Yarn. I don't think she's dyeing anymore, but I think it was also part of a set that had to do with, maybe it was a Harry Potter set or something. So this was one of the yarns left over. And this is really deep stash also because it is a yarn dyed by Nora George, and it was called Thistle. Basically, I purchased it before I went on my trip to Edinburgh. And ever since, I've had it thinking about I wanted to make a pair of socks, but I just decided to do that now. It was already wound up, so I had no trouble whatsoever doing that. I am making these in 56 stitches. The recommended hook size is a 3.0. I completed the toe in with a 3.5 because it's single crochet and my gauge was really tight, and then I went to use the 3mm hook for this stitch that is here. This is a stitch that Clarissa Smith calls the squished single crochet, and so if you can notice, it has quite a bit of texture, and if you were to touch this as I am doing, you can see that it's very soft. And it's like a cushion. And that's also a sparkly yarn. I don't know if you can tell, but you can see the sparkles on the purple. But this thistle yarn is also a sparkly yarn. So yes, I thought that combination looked very well together. And so I decided to put that to use with a nice pattern. And in addition to that, let's see what I have here. I also purchased a pattern for a mystery sock alone. Tipping the scale is called the mystery sock, and so up to now we have received one clue, and so there's still plenty of time to join in. You just have to go over either to Ravelry or to thecrochetproject.com and purchase the sock. It started on the 26th of December, and every week for 5 weeks we are going to receive a new clue. So I need to skedaddle on this. I've been postponing it for some days. It starts off with it's cuff down, so it starts off with the cuff, but the cuff is a pattern written by Joanne, and she's calling it Joanne's Super Stretchy Rib. And so it's not that it's difficult, it's very similar to other ribbings that I have made. It's just it's got a twist to it. Now I am practicing the ribbing separately because I'm noticing that it's tilting like this, so I think that I'm doing it wrong. And so I wanted to practice it before I did the actual one. The ones here at the beginning are okay, but then it kind of takes a slant. And it can be that at some point you have to work through 2 stitches. It might be that I'm working through the wrong 2 stitches. Although I do know that half double crochets tend to slant, but there's no reason why it would slant in the middle and not on the edges, is there? So I'm going to have another go at it, and just to make sure that I know what I'm doing before I start the actual sock. But I'll be doing that sock during the first 5 weeks of this upcoming year. And then during Christmas, Elizabeth and I had decided to do a sock exchange. This sock that I showed you is part of our sock exchange, but I did not fulfill my end of the bargain. The bargain was that we would each make each other a pair of socks, and I didn't do it because she wanted a knit sock. Well, she didn't say she wanted it, but I wanted it to be knit, and you all know that I am knit phobic, so it takes me a while. But anyway, I am using this yarn that is also a deep stash yarn. It's a yarn from the Bakery Bears Cottage on Etsy, and it is called The Rabbit's Christmas Party. 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon high twist. The Rabbit's Christmas Party. And it's also deep stash. It's been in my stash for a couple of years. I am just making a, what they call a vanilla sock. This is my contrast for this yarn. This is a yarn that I dyed a long time ago also in using red onion skins. Red onion skins. And so that's my contrast, and I'm just doing a vanilla sock, which means that I did a wedge toe, and I am now working on the leg. I will make a heel, or not, because she didn't make a heel on mine. Maybe I will make a heel on hers, and then I'll just do the leg and the cuff. And so that didn't sound too difficult to me in my planning, but well, we'll see how it works out. I'm only just beginning. There are about 30 rows here, and I have to reach 50, so that's not bad. 20 more to go. I figure that's about 2 more sits before I can actually start the gusset. Or maybe not. Or maybe I will continue and not make a gusset and just leave it like that. Because in this type of sock, this just type vanilla sock, if I were to make it into a tube, it would be fairly easy for her to just cut wherever she wants the heel and to create the heel if she finds the tube uncomfortable. So yeah, that's my knit sock, my Christmas swap, after Christmas swap. That'll take me a while though. I mean, I've been working on it quite a bit, but that will take me a while. So there, I've got all those socks on the go because I decided to start my new year off by making socks and trying to use up some of that sock yarn that I have around there. And some of it, actually, I would really like to see how it works up. And so that's my plan for now, to work on socks for the beginning of the year. And of course, to complete some of those projects that were in the planning but never completed for this year. So I just wanted to stop by and to wish you all a belated Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year 2021. I know we're all looking forward to it. I hope to goodness that it does bring us the comfort and the changes that we are expecting. So please take care of yourself, and I'll be back. I'll be back later if 2021 has that planned for me, and we'll be keeping in touch. So that's all for now. Take care, and God bless you all. Happy New Year.